Two of the people that we feature in the book are a couple, Alan and Dorothy Lloyd, and it's quite nice to hear from both of them, so we see both their different perspectives on what's going on. And their story quite incredibly matches the chronology of the war, in that they were engaged to be married in the summer of 1914 after a long sort of struggle to get her parents to agree to it, because they saw Alan as being a bit of a rogue. He was a very wealthy, Cambridge educated man from a well-to-do, well-respected family, the Lloyd family, Lloyd banking family. But he'd gone off and travelled the world and wanted to go and live in Africa and run a cotton estate, and anyway, her parents didn't think he was very reliable. But after a concerted effort, he'd finally managed to persuade them to let them get married. And so in the summer of 1914, everything was the plans were being made for their wedding, and they'd fixed the date for the 1st of September. Less than a month before that, Britain entered the war, and Alan did what a lot of men of his class and age did, and he offered his services to the War Office. They do manage to get married before he's called up into training, and then they have a year or so, I think almost a year, living together as he's in training, and they have their kind of normal married life together for those months. In the summer of 1915, Alan is sent out to France, and so then we have this wonderful correspondence between them, which show not only what it was like for him, but also what it was like for her to be left behind and to be parted from her new husband. And she's pregnant when he goes. She ends up having the baby by herself, and he doesn't get to meet his own son for many months. But what I found really touching about their correspondence is that you really get a sense of her frustration for not being able to look after him. She can't be there for him as he's going through the most awful trials of his life. In May 1916, he hasn't been on leave. I think he keeps getting told he's going to get leave, and it keeps getting put back, and he's been through some horrendous battles. He basically starts losing his temper with her, and I think reading their letters, you really feel that she knows it's because he's at breaking point, and I could just sort of really empathise with how she must have felt not being able to help him. So he writes to her, "It's now about certain I shan't get home on the 14th. I might get home before the end of the month, but knowing my luck as I do, I don't think I'll ever get any damned leave. I'm fed up to the neck with everything. I believe they recommended me for a blooming military cross, but I didn't get one and didn't deserve one. But I would have thought they might give me a bit of leave sometime, as I did a bit for them. I'd be quite content so long as I could get to you, but then they won't let me, blast them. Do send out my thin things, as I've asked you twice, and don't argue and write a lot of rot as to whether I want new ones. Do as you're told and send them. What the devil's the good of waiting till I come home on leave? That might be next Christmas. When I ask you to send things, I want them sent, not a lot of correspondence taking 3 days each way. I've got other things to do than argue about thin pants and vests." And I think just for her to get that letter would have been they're so in love, and all their other letters most of their other letters are so kind of warm and affectionate to each other. And I think for her to have gone through this couple of weeks before he got leave, when he's really at breaking point, and to not be able to be there and to comfort him, I think must have been awful for her, almost as hard as knowing what he was going through in terms of the horrors of war. It's just that thought of not being able to look after him and not being able to give him a hug when he's having a hard time.